Try not to get burned.
Yeah, sick burn, Kyle, because you're at the carpool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm your host, Stu.
I'm Kyle.
And today, I've lost what we're going to talk about, but today we're going to talk about part 2 of our Hidden Gem series from Ice Age.
Yeah, there we go. This is indeed part 2 of a multi-part set review of Ice Age. We did our first segment of Hidden Gems last time. We're going to do our second this time, so...
This is going to be 5 through 1. This is going to be the crown of the Hidden Gems. If you're interested in seeing the previous one, we're going to throw a link both down the bottom, and we'll throw a little hyperlink up here now. If you want to check out the first one and build up some suspense as we go along the way. But until then, I'll start.
Yeah, I'll get started. Lead us off, Stu. So
right.
You mentioned in the last video that you were going to start off with a really good one, so you better not disappoint me.
Of course I will, because it's not your card. My number 5 coming in strong is called Freyas Wins, and it is an enchantment that costs 4 mana, 2 generic and double green. And it reads, whenever a permanent becomes tapped, put a wind counter on it. Permanents with a wind counter on them do not untap during the controller's untap phase. Instead, remove all wind counters from those permanents. So this has the great protection of right there removing all counters, so you're not able to abuse this with proliferation, because that would suck.
Right, yes it would.
But this is a control card in green. This is a very blue effect, or even white, that is in green. For just flat out playing something, anytime something becomes tapped, you just put this on there. So literally this has a way of taking a card out for 2 turns if it keeps the counter on it. And that is super strong in green. And it just shows you, Freyas knows what's up.
Apparently, this is a very, as you said, blue effect on a green card. They did a couple of things like this in the past. They've really steered away from it in more modern days, but green used to have some pretty fair controlling elements about it too. You don't see that so much anymore. This slows down aggressive decks, oddly enough, for green, because it's supposed to be the color of being aggressive,
well, aggro.
Or one of them anyway.
Red would hate this, like totally.
Oh, absolutely. It gives you some time to prepare for the next swing from the other player, and gives you some time to maybe get in there yourself when all their creatures are tapped down. It's not amazing because it is such a slow, timey sort of card, but it's not bad either. It's interesting.
Well, and it works on permanents. So this is lands, and green has no problem tutoring up for lands that come into play tapped. So that means next turn you go ahead. I
did not even think about that.
Yeah, so this ruins all tempo. So even though you will have green and you're playing big spells, you should be able to have more lands out to inherently get that lump sum.
God, that's like,
it's JG Wentworth.
And it's gross.
No, it's JG Wentworth. You're getting your cash now pretty much right there. You're getting that lump sum and you're moving it forward. Whereas like blue, yeah, they can maybe draw more cards, but it's just going to have a dead hand and anything else like that. Especially...
I'm going to stick with my metaphor.
JG
like,
Wentworth.
It's like Vorinclex, and oh god, I hate that card.
But the thing is also, Vorinclex, I mean, this is every player, and that's the one thing that's a little downside about this for also in green. But there is a commander that could abuse this, and you know what I'm thinking of?
Derevi, because you can just untap things whenever. Yeah, I know, right?
No, I was thinking mono green.
Oh, yeah?
You might not remember him. This is one of the snake offering. One of the patrons. Patron of the Orochi. Now, there's one for every color, but it was all some janky tribes that didn't really exist.
Yeah, they were all kind of weird, except that one is like a legitimately very good
card. That one, what it is it goes ahead and it taps it, and it untaps all
forests.
And
green creatures.
So it works on every player, but usually... if you're using mono green, you will be abusing it, and it's this is something, again, even though it would tap to go ahead and use that effect, it is green, so it would perpetually untap itself to use its own effect. So you could get around this. It takes some mana to get that guy out, but this would be a great element in a deck like that.
This reads to me sort of like phasing, because you have to be really careful about the timing of all of it, and kind of when you attack with what you tap.
A little bit.
So you kind of have to plan for this, but if you set it up properly to take full advantage of it, it can be really good.
The only thing I don't know is if this goes ahead and like they tap something down, it gets the counters on it, and they remove this or destroy this, would it still have the turn of having to get the counter removed off of it or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if this is wiped off the field? Like let's say you go ahead and they return to dust this, right?
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's the only thing I don't truly
You talk
know.
a little bit. Let me look it up and see if I can find out.
Filler. No. But anyway, the one thing that I do like about this is because in this set we do see that cards have cumulative upkeep, and this is a card that reads like it would have had cumulative upkeep on it. And without having that drawback, that's something that really makes this shine. And this also, like I said before, it hurts decks with haste. And also, if you are using control things like blind obedience and stuff like that, where stuff comes into play tapped, it enters, becomes tapped, has the counter, and next turn still can't be used. So you could tag team some stuff with players with this. So it has its plays and its combos.
That is true. And as far as I can tell, if this card gets removed, the win counters, I mean, you don't have to remove them necessarily, but they just stay on there and they don't do anything until this card comes back out. So, yeah, it's actually pretty good if you can get rid of it and there's still win counters out there. If you can bring it back somehow, you're right back in the same situation, especially with all lands. Yeah, that's rough.
And it would work in an Enchantress deck. It would work just as green control, green support. Like this could be a green staple if we get some more cards that really utilize this.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it hurts all players that prevents it from being totally nuts.
Well, that's what probably made it so they printed it.
Right.
But moving away from my card, do you have anything else to say about it?
No, not really. I think we can move on to another really, again, interesting sort of card here, very outside the wheelhouse of the color that it's in. So let's go to number 5 on my list, and that is Enduring Renewal. This is another 4-drop enchantment. It's 2 colorless and double white this time.
Copycat.
So you play with the cards in your hand revealed. If you draw a creature from your deck, discard it. When a creature goes to your graveyard from play, put that creature back into your hand. This is a very interesting card, and I'm not entirely sure what color this is supposed to be at home in. Maybe black? I feel like this feels like a black card in a lot of ways. Black likes discarding cards and returning creatures from the graveyard to your hand. But anyway, this card is really, really interesting. It's kind of like Solitary Confinement, if you remember that enchantment, because you have to pay a high price for using it. In this case, it's getting rid of all creatures you draw and revealing your hand. With Solitary Confinement, it's not having a draw step, but it's worth it to me in a deck that can use it because you have all kinds of ways of getting around that bad stuff. So, like this one, for example, if you just have a creature out in play that is worth it to you to keep around, as long as you keep this out, that thing's going to keep coming back.
Actually, it's kind of like giving it, what is it? There's the white enchantment, where it's like it's on it, and if it would die, you remove the aura, and then you'd have to kill the creature before it would get re-arred, which it would come back every turn. I forget the name of that. But this also kind of gives it like the old Amonkhet Gods kind of effect, where it's like when it dies, it would come back, like you'd see with the Scarab God and stuff like this.
Exactly.
So, and this is really good for keeping your commander alive, because once it's out and this is out, it'll keep coming back to the field. A great way of getting around the command tax, by the way. So this is really good. It's an enchantment in white, Enchantress, like we already said. White can also bring creatures back from the grave. So this is something you can, like, even if the creatures are going directly to the grave, you can still get an engine from them to go and get out.
And obviously this is
a non-creature based one.
Yeah, and obviously this is best in a deck that uses lots of creatures. You know what really shines with this? A great partner in crime is a card like Revelark or Karmic Guide, or even the new one, Vesperlark, which is like the poor man's Revelark.
But the thing is the timing for this. So you are right, because at this point, if you play this and you have Karmic Guide in your hand, you will perpetually get a free Karmic Guide every turn.
Exactly.
And whenever that other thing goes, so you're growing an army pretty much incrementally for free.
Exactly. Isn't that awesome?
That is really awesome. But again, you have to have it lined up just so right. If you don't have any creatures, when you go ahead and you play this, if you draw into a creature, you lose that. That answer's gone.
Right, and that's the thing. The open hand part of this doesn't really matter all that much to me, at least, but you obviously have to be careful when you play this, or you're gonna actively, screw yourself out of having a good game.
Yeah, but again, it has its plays, it's unique, and the players are gonna have to think of a way to get around this, or around your creature, especially if you're using ETBs. Like, I mean, this is almost a free blink card inherently. It's not, but it's a great ETB enabler.
Right, and they might not. Honestly, this card is so odd that people might not think of it as a threat until you start comboing with it, and then all of a sudden it gets very dangerous.
And actually, this also ooh, you know what? This is great with like board wipes. Let's say you have a field and you don't want to kill it, but you have to because they have some sort of threat. Lay this out, board wipe, all your stuff comes back.
Right, exactly. I'm saying like
That's incredible.
Yeah, when you play this card, you have to have a setup that will benefit from all or some of your creatures dying. You have to have a bunch of creatures out when you play this initially for it to be any good. But then they're just not going to go away. They're just going to keep coming back.
They come back right after they die, right?
Yeah, that's what the
So this is a win con.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be.
Well, think of what this works great with.
I mean, there's a lot of things.
You sack a creature, they mill some cards.
Right.
Ashnod's Altar.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Altar of Dementia.
Altar of Dementia.
Yeah.
That would be an instant win with Altar of Dementia right there.
Right, yeah, exactly.
That's
or something.
Because it doesn't matter what the creature is. It could be a 1/1, and you just do this 100 times.
Or something that's a 0-drop, like a Memnite, and an Ashnod's Altar. That's infinite mana right there. Easy.
Yeah. You could get infinite mana. You could. Yeah. Wow, that's a lot more power than I thought it was.
See, yeah.
I might pick one up. Damn you, Kyle. All right, fine. Never mind. Anyway, nothing to talk about this horrible card. Don't buy it. Is there anything? Also, one thing I was thinking, this would work really good for a Super Friends build.
How so?
So Gideon can become a creature, right?
Right.
Which means he's vulnerable.
But he's usually indestructible and can't take damage, so yeah.
I'm just saying it has some plays with that, which would be interesting. But again, it makes it so also like, well, you're not using creatures anyways.
Right, which is nice.
So
but also, you're
draw.
not necessarily getting any benefit from it because you're not playing creatures. So, well, there are a handful of creatures that benefit from being played with a lot of planeswalkers, like Jeru from the Amonkhet set can tutor for them. Thalia's Lancers can tutor for planeswalkers too. So maybe it's possible that you could do some kind of
I think you're right. There's
interaction
not
with
too
that.
much you would want to do with that. But yeah, no, it'd be a great safety net for comboing out. Yeah, you're right. That's wild.
That's a combo card. That's really good.
All right, well, anyway, I have another one that could be a possibly win con for you. At my number 4, it is called Demonic Consultation. Speaking of J.G. Wentworth, it costs 1 mana. It is a solid black for an instant, and it reads, name a card, remove the top 6 cards from your library from the game, and reveal the next card to all players. If it is the card named, put it into your hand. If not, remove the cards from the game and continue the process more or less until the named card appears. So this almost seems counterintuitive to use in a deck because it seems like the chances of this hitting one card are very slim. And you are correct. So this is a card that is a 1-drop, pretty much as long as you have Laboratory Maniac out, you win the game. You just have to name a card. Doesn't mean a card in your deck in the slightest.
Right.
But it also can work for, if you're not going for that, the Eldrazi who like to deal with exiled cards.
Oblivion Sower or pretty much any of the processor cards, yeah, works with them too.
Also works, yeah, it works for that as well. You don't see a lot of stuff that can be self-propelled exiling. Exiling is usually a little bit of a tough effect to get off. We're seeing more of it now.
Yeah.
And it usually isn't something that just flat out appears. But this is something that is just unusual for that fact alone. And it's like self-propelled mill, but self-propelled exiling. And that usually takes a lot more to get set up. Like you need a ley line of the void plus something else, and that's where you can like you can exile your whole deck. So it's just for 1-drop, off the grid janky.
This is a 1-mana tutor, so if you really, really need a certain card right now or you're gonna lose, you'll probably be glad you have this card, but you gotta be real careful because if it's in those first 6 cards, you're dead anyway, unless you have some kind of way to win when you have no deck. So, to me, it's pretty much just reserved for being a game-winning combo with something like Laboratory Maniac.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, there are other tutors that are much more reliable than this. Like, even for crying out loud, even like Vampiric Tutor is like 1,000,000 times better than this.
Well, any tutor pretty much. But
yeah.
But the only point is not all tutors can just flat out win you the game on its own. This can. And so that's the thing that's really unique about it. And yes, like you are saying, if the card's in the 6 and that gets milled, well, you're kind of SOL.
Yeah.
This more or less works in a format where you're using more than one card, and that was the whole idea of this. But this can still be abused in Commander, and I figured it needs some light. For such a dark card, it needs some light.
It is definitely interesting. Yet another way to win the game with Laboratory Maniac.
Yeah, which I'm very surprised about this set, because a lot of people said how they hated Ice Age, how it's like not really a good set, cards aren't worth money. There are some incredible cards that we'll get into even more in a second. But going on to your number 3, Kyle. Or
all right.
not your number 3.
My number 4.
My bad.
Skipping over here. But my number 4 for this list is going to be Zirin Orb. And this is an artifact that costs 0. One of those rare artifacts. It costs 0 to play. And actually 0 to use. It's just a free sacrifice outlet for no mana. Oh, that's not broken in any way.
Never.
And it has the ability to just sacrifice a land and give you 2 life. You look at that and you really don't think, even for 0 and 0, it's nothing special, right? So what? You're sacrificing a land to get life? That seems like a total rip, right?
Well, I'm not going to say yes, but I'll say yes.
But getting a totally free outlet to sacrifice all of your lands is very useful for decks like Titania and the Gitrog monster. Both of them love to just eat up your lands. Doesn't matter what reason, you just have to destroy lands and you get massive card advantage. So this becomes a win condition in any of those decks, if not just a great combo enabler.
Or also if you are really in trouble on your life and you need just to flat out not get any more mana, but you keep getting more mana, this can save your butt a little bit. Or you can let a little bit more damage trickle in through and hit you in the face.
Yeah, so I wouldn't use this card just to gain life, though.
Yeah, it's not that point. I mean, if you want to use this in some sort of deck that you need life, like you could use this in a white life gain deck. You could.
You could.
It's not the best option, but you could.
Yeah.
So
this is mostly for the land-based decks, though. Let's get that.
Yeah,
100%
this is a landfall-based deck. Omnath would love this, like you said, or Titania or any of the other stuff out there. Or, I mean, if you just go ahead and you're just like flooding land, especially what is the Merfolk, the green one where it's like all lands come into your grave from your grave into
World
play.
Shaper, yeah, when it dies, right?
Like you can combo out some really good stuff, so you can get infinite life. You can go ahead and just keep cycling stuff in and out like that. So there's a lot of infinite stuff you can do in this set.
Yeah, there really is. Some of the best combo pieces in the game came out in this set.
No one likes this set.
I don't get it. I don't get it. All
right, well, on to number 3. I'm going to be going into another unusual card, and this will be in the green section of the pie. It's called Ritual of Sub Duel. It costs 6 mana, and it's 4 generic and double green for an enchantment cumulative upkeep of 2.
Oh boy.
All mana-producing lands produce colorless mana instead of their normal mana. Bam! That is oppressive.
That's like worse than Blood Moon.
It's worse than Blood Moon.
I didn't think that was possible.
The only deck that would be benefited by this are Eldrazi, because everything is now diamond mana, or whatever you want to call it like that. Yeah. And so the whole point of this one is to close out the game. If you're green, you eventually bring out something huge and massive when nobody else has anything out. Use this afterwards, you kind of seal that coffin. As long as you're able to produce the mana to keep the cumulative upkeep around and leave whatever your field is out there to go ahead and oppress stuff, you'll be fine. You can win.
You got to pay for the cumulative upkeep, obviously. But my guess is if you set this up right, if you keep it out for just a few turns, you probably won anyway.
But this is the cool thing. This would be a staple in Omnath, regular Omnath. So like you're not going to get any mana from that you can utilize for other things.
Right.
But your commander itself, it can keep growing. Bam, commander damage, 1 player's out. Other players can't play anything except for artifacts. I mean, unless you're using Eldrazi or you're using colorless whatevers.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
This could be a way to literally push all your opponents in a closet and just let them suffocate. That's really what it is.
It is interesting. It can completely lock people out of the game. It's worse than Blood Moon because it costs more than Blood Moon to use.
It's double the
cost, but
with cumulative upkeep.
And it hurts. It arguably, like you got to get around the fact that it hurts everybody equally. But yeah, with colorless mana instead of just hurting like the other certain basic land types. Wow, that's just, that is so, so mean.
Super mean. The only way of getting around this is if they're using mana rocks. Like a chromatic lantern can still produce 1 of anything. The lands will not be able to, but again, Commander Sphere, if you have, I mean, there's not like anything else out there pretty much.
Yeah, those
Dark
mana
Steel
rocks are
Ingot.
still there, but still, ugh. Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that'd be the only saving grace for them at that point.
I had no idea green had something like this.
Green-
Great. So black has it, red has it, now green has it too. Awesome.
Yeah, it's just white.
Yeah, white. I don't know.
Eat it white.
Well, even blue sort of has something like this, right?
Not as powerful, but yeah, it has something. But moving on to number 3, is there anything else?
Indeed.
Or you're just going to keep saying I'm right? I'm fine with you saying that.
No, now you get to say I'm right because I have a card that might even be meaner than this.
I doubt it.
Ha. Well, number 3 on my list here, and again, I don't feel great about this, but I feel like I had to talk about it, is Zir's Weirding. Now, this is a card that causes a lot of fear and anger at most kitchen tables, and rightfully so. It's an enchantment that it costs 4 mana, 3 colorless and 1 blue. All players play with their hands revealed, and then whenever any player draws a card ever, as for any reason, any other player can pay 2 life to force that player to then immediately discard that card. This is just not a fun card. This is not okay.
Instead of it being Magic, you're playing Dickory.
Basically, this card has a bad reputation because it involves really complicated politics and can be super, super unfun. But that said, there are obviously, like any other card, great homes for this card, especially when you're playing control, as you probably are when you're a blue player, and you don't want other players holding out on you, and you don't want them to get stuff that you can't counter. So if it looks like they're about to draw something good, you can prevent them.
Just 2 life, and it's not just you; it's anyone.
It's anyone.
So you can, because the
politics,
priority will
politics
go around
is
the
name
table.
of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, let's say it's you and I, and there's 2 other players, say A and B. So if it goes to player A, it's their turn. Player B will then have to go to it. Then I'll be like, well, all right, I'll be in the pressure house. Do I need to? If you say no, you say no, and I'm like, all right, I have to say yes. Like you can really put that whole like I'm gonna twist your arm off strategy with this, or you can make a teammate, you can make a friend.
Right, and then the really great part about this is seeing everybody's hands in addition to this. If you're just seeing what cards, people are going to send to the graveyard, odds are, a lot of the time, people want stuff in the graveyard for different kinds of effects, but the fact that you see everyone's hands means that there are no surprises. So everybody's cards, literally, are on the table.
And also, this being in blue, you have the ability to draw more cards than your opponents.
Indeed. So they're going to end up paying like most of their own life totals just to stop you from doing what you want to do the entire game.
However, the life gain player will probably end up on top, because even if you are in blue and you're drawing 3 or 4 cards a turn, they are gaining 10 life per turn. They're not being lost. So this comes down to literally... It's the depression. You're using what you have because nothing else is going to exist, because everything is just going to go to the grave. Once your hand's depleted and everything's gone, at one point something's going to have to give.
Yeah, that's why this is not super fun. I don't necessarily advocate for playing it in pretty much any case willy-nilly. It's not fun. People are not going to like you after a round with this.
This is a mini Leovold, pretty much. If you go ahead and you play something like a Teferi's Puzzle Box, player 1's going to go, all right, just pay how much. They have no hand. Player 2 goes, no hand. So you have a way to make it so everyone else has nothing, and if you have instant speed, drop it out, you're all fine, you should win the game. So you can... Yeah, you had to talk about this card. It's very powerful, and it's just sucks. That's another way to say it.
In like the best way possible, but also like the worst way possible.
Yeah, it just comes down to everyone's commanders on the field, and it comes down to whose commander can beat the best face in. And that's... Yeah.
Honestly, I wish I had known about this card like way back in the day, because decks like, for example, remember Isperia the Inscrutable? That benefited from knowing what cards were in everyone's hand. You could play something like this. It's like a telepathy, but better, because it also stops anyone from getting anything good for the rest of the game, while you get to tutor things, which is not drawing. Yep. So there you go. Optimal tool here. However, like I said, everybody's going to hate you. So, I don't know. Is it worth it? Maybe.
Yeah, there's certain cards where you can go ahead and adjust it so it's not drawing, per se.
Right.
And so that will get around this. But again... It's just
Hooray, making garbage commanders good with one card.
there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Let's move on. Yeah.
Well, mine's another one that's kind of in that roundhouse. It's named after a drink. My number 2, we're gonna go and have a nice Mudslide.
See, I thought that was an ice cream flavor, but all right.
Oh, it's that, but it's also alcoholic. But for you kids out there, you can get a virgin version of it. That's a hard tongue twister right there. But anyway, it is an enchantment named Mudslide. It costs 3, and it costs 2 generic and a red. It reads creatures without flying do not untap during their controller's untap phase. At the end of his or her upkeep, each player may pay an additional 2 per creature to untap a creature without flying he or she controls.
How many different variations of Ghostly Prison are we going to see?
Yeah,
in
there's
this set?
a
Like,
lot.
Seriously.
But the thing is like typically you think red, goblins. That's not good. But the other side of that coin is red, dragons. They all have flying.
Yeah.
So this is honestly a staple for dragons. Because, I mean, if you look at the Ur-Dragon or any of the 5-color ones, they all have red in them because they're 5-color. Huh. But,
Right.
I mean, they don't hurt you. They're literally making your opponents use 2 mana, and they can't do anything else like that. They're not going to attack you because they're going to need a chump block. They're going to have to be a lot more tactful with what they're using because this, for 3 mana, without cumulative upkeep, with no other cost, just flat out, this is a rule now. Good luck.
Plus, there's that card. Oh, I forget. I forget what it's called.
It's a magic card.
Like Chaos World or something, where all creatures that have flying lose flying, and all creatures that don't have flying gain flying. It's really dumb. It's a red card.
Warped World.
So no, it's not Warped World, but it's like Chaos World or something like that. But anyway, that's a thing, and that along with this seems really fun to me.
Warped World.
But actually, it seems to hurt, like we were saying, a lot of red decks more than it helps. But then again, it can help a lot against them, too. So
yes,
if you're playing against a lot of those in your play group, this is an ideal card to bring in to help out. And for a red deck more focused on control, for example, like Jaya Ballard, I know you play that deck. This would be excellent in there because it's just another useful sort of tool.
No,
right?
it is not because Jaya Ballard would not untap. I'd have to pay an additional 2 to untap Jaya.
Oh, so it doesn't count attacking. Now you're right.
It's just flat out untap. If it was combat based, you'd be right. But like, so this would also work for the Locust God who has flying.
Yeah, that would. There you go.
So, but again, and it produces flying tokens.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So that's a great staple right there for that. It doesn't hurt you. You have time. This is a Ghostly Prison with even a better upside.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've never seen this. I've never heard of this. I bought one as soon as I found out about this card because it is just bonkers. And it seems like Red deserves an Enchantress deck with just all these enchantments.
Yeah, we've made that point before. Red has some really good enchantments. It'd be nice if we got a red commander that focused in some way on enchantments.
Or just had Mountain Walk. Please just give us a red commander with Mountain Walk. I don't know why that doesn't exist, and it shouldn't be begged for. But, all right, anyway, I have nothing more to say about that. I hope you guys actually enjoyed that one, because that's a card that really kind of
knocked my really good. Off. I actually have seen that one played. It's pretty good. Of
course you have. All right, number 2, is this a card that I've seen played?
No, probably not, but I would love to use this card at some point. I've had it and never realized really how good it was until I went back over it. But it's number 2 on my list is called Fire Covenant. And this is a black-red instant that costs 3 mana, 1 colorless, a black, and a red. So Fire Covenant does X damage divided in any way you choose among any number of creatures, where X is equal to an amount of life you pay. You can pay any amount of life when you play this card. And then, of course, effects that prevent or redirect damage can't be used to stop this damage, which is another little added bonus on this card. But just think about this for a second, especially in a game like Commander, where you start off with 40 life. I always have looked at it from the point of view that life in pretty much any game of Magic, but especially Commander, because you have more life to burn, is a resource and should be used as such. You should not be afraid to lose life in order to get to your eventual winning point. This basically turns your life total into a gigantic fireball. Granted, it only hits creatures, but still, super easy to clear out the board if you're paying like 10 or 20 life with this card. I mean, that can win you the game right there by completely opening someone up.
Repercussion, you go ahead and use Repercussion like this, and you have something that deals double damage, you can inherently kill somebody. You pay 20 life, they lose 40.
Yeah.
So that's really, really powerful in that regard.
Right, and I'm not saying this is not for the faint of heart. You do need to pay a bunch of life for this to be most effective, but guess what? You have to do that for Toxic Deluge as well. That's one of the best like removal cards in the game, and this doesn't even hurt you if you don't want it to. You just destroy other people's stuff.
I agree with all of that, but how does your heart faint?
How does your heart faint?
Yeah. Faint of heart.
Yeah. Faint, as in weak.
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Say that. All right, anyway, but yeah, no, I totally agree with you with that. And this is a good, this can save you. This is something, if you're about to die, you have a way of saving yourself.
And it's an instant, too.
I just wish it hit players, but I can see why it doesn't.
Well, that'd be dumb. That'd just be dumb. I mean, paying 20 of your own life to deal 20 damage to someone else. I mean, well, then again, Aetherflux Reservoir kind of does that, so I guess it's all right. But still, I don't know if that like totally turns me off. So
I would like that. I mean, because are decks out there that aren't creature based, so being able to just fling at them. It would be, I would want that in there, but again, it doesn't need that. It still does work. This is a great form of a board wipe, and actually it gets rid of Gatateague, which is a very, very limited list of cards which can actually hit him. So this is something just in that regard alone useful.
Yeah, I've never had enough courage to play this card, but I would really, really like to at some point, because I feel like it would be very powerful.
You can do it. You're courageous. Anyway, to my number one,
Indeed.
The best card that I found in the entire set was obviously one Kyle didn't pick because it is amazing. It is called Infernal Darkness. It costs 4 mana, 2 generic, and 2 black for an enchantment. We're following a traditional train with this, but it has cumulative upkeep of 1 swamp and 1 life. All mana-producing lands produce swamp instead of their normal mana. So this is a black variant of Blood Moon.
Again, just like the Ritual of Sub Duel. You really like these cards. I hate them
so this one I knew about preemptively going into it, and I've loved this card. I've appreciated this card. Black has 2 of them. It's this one and
Corruption.
Contagion.
Corruption is the other one. No, Contamination. Contamination, yeah.
Hey, we're both wrong right at the same time. So black only has 2 of those. Red has 2. Green now we have as 1 in our arsenal.
Right.
Blue is a pseudo one. But anyway, this is something OG set. I had to bring it up. Contagion. Whatever the word is. The other black contamination. Yeah. It costs a lot more than this one. This is a budget option to this, and actually, I'd say it's almost a better version because even though you have to pay 1 black, you're producing only black, so you're not in any shortness of swamps. It's just pretty much saying pay 1, which is fine, and using the life loss. So this would be pay 2, lose 2 life. So this can stack on you pretty quick. But being able to take all land color out of the game is big. And unless you're playing against, I don't know, Hope of Gaiper deck or, Kozilek, actually, no, you can get around the diamond mana. They can't do that.
Right, unless you have mana rocks or something.
Yeah,
then
so this
yes,
is the
you
same
can,
kind of
just
scenario.
Like usual, but yeah, this is. I honestly like this one better than something like a Blood Moon or the Ritual of Sub Duel because I like it because it's fairer. I generally don't really like this kind of effect, but the fact that it tacks life loss on there in the cumulative upkeep, that puts a time limit on this card.
Yeah, because normally you just sit.
Yeah, because it doesn't take really any skill to throw down a Blood Moon and then just shut people out for the rest of the game. I don't like that.
It takes a lot of skill. You got to know how to tap your mana. You got to know to draw a card. You got to know it's untap, upkeep, then draw.
Yeah, whatever. But this one. Yeah, like I said, it requires some knowledge and it requires
a little
good timing.
finesse.
Yeah, it does. So I like this one. I mean, I don't love this kind of effect, but this one I'll deal with because I think it is, in the broadest sense,
I think this
fairer.
one's even better than Contamination because Contamination stays out as long as there's a creature to sacrifice.
Right.
And I mean, you can combo that with like an Ophiomancer or just regular black cards that recur from the grave. This one can be self-propelled. They both.
You don't have to depend on anything else.
Yeah, this one is just based on your mana cap and your life cap. So I would say it's worth more. This isn't even a money card in this set, and this set really truly didn't have a lot of money in it. So it speaks loads to all these gems that we found because they're cheap. They're real cheap.
Yeah, they are. This set used to be, there used to be some like really expensive cards in the set, which we'll see when we get to the money cards, but they've pretty much all gone down a lot over the last few years.
Yeah, these are all like at least under $2, $3.
Yeah, so look these up because they're easy to get.
But anyway, now down to your number 1, Kyle.
Oh yeah, I love this card so much. I'm so glad I get to talk about it. Number 1 on my list is, yet again, another enchantment. I feel like that's a running theme in this set, but it's called Mystic Remora. This is a 1-mana blue enchantment.
Not so secret card now, but...
Again, no, but cumulative upkeep of 1 colorless again. So whenever target opponent successfully casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card, or that player may pay 4 mana to counter this effect. So let's look at this in the broadest possible sense. This is a slightly more limited version of Rhystic Study, but in some ways, I almost want to say that it's better. Yeah, I know you're going to give me a look, but
I'm way ahead of you on that. That is, you eat those words.
Oh, no, I do not. I have seen this card played many, many times. It is even more effective than Rhystic Study is at the exact same thing. This is an insanely good card, and I think a legitimate discussion can be had as to which one is better.
Easy. Rhystic.
No, granted, this one only works on non-creature spells. That's true. But it comes out on the first turn. The first turn. And it starts drawing you more cards almost immediately.
And you also are going to have mana that you're not going to have much of. And
right, but it doesn't matter. All you have to do is
pay.
All you have to do is keep paying for it once every turn. As long as you don't miss a land drop, it's going to live as long as you can keep playing lands. With Rhystic Study as well, there's a chance that people are going to just pay 1 here and there for you to not draw a card. With this, they have to pay 4 every time, so they're never going to pay 4 just not to let you draw cards. So you're going to draw way more cards with this.
So the way this works is if you are going to play the cumulative upkeep and you miss a land drop, you have 1 turn afterwards of using this card. Also, it's 1 player. 1 player might not even get anything out of this on you. Also, if you're following the cumulative upkeep, if it is turn 1, this card is making so you can't play anything else. You're not getting a bunch of mana or anything else like that. You're inherently just limiting yourself to drawing cards.
Well, to be clear, when it says target opponent, that's been, updated in recent years. It means, target player who's, casting a spell. But it's like whenever any of your opponents cast a non-creature spell,
pretty sure it's still a targeted player.
You don't actually, not anymore, not with the updated version. So it is basically an altered version of Rhystic Study. So like I said, I think a legitimate discussion can be had as to which one is better, because I've seen a lot more come out of this than come out of Rhystic Study.
All right, now that makes it, instead of being 30% good, about 50% good.
Also, Rhystic Study, let's remember, is like a $20 card. This is like 50 cents. So
I think this price has changed.
I think I'll take the 50-cent version. Thank you very much.
I think the price has changed since then, but at the time when we did this, it was definitely not on a money card. It has gone up since, but legit.
Yeah.
This can destroy itself, whereas an opponent would have to waste some form of card in their hand that they've already let you draw another card for. So that way, with Rhystic, you're inherently making it so that you're getting more than a 1-for-1. You're getting a 2-for-1 out of this. They are giving you something to replace the card that's down, and they've lost something in the process of doing that.
Yeah, but this is much more immediate advantage, which I think is better. So let's have a discussion. Let's do a poll on this one. So what do you think stacks up better, Mystic Remora or Rhystic Study? I'd like to know. I'd honestly like to know.
I would agree with you. I'd like to know because I'd like to see how many crazy people there are in the world, just so I know who, 1 out of 7 people I don't want to hang out with. Makes sense, But either way, I'll digress. It is a good card. If you're running one, you'd rather than another one. It is great in a tax-based deck. Death and Taxes is typically black and white, but this is definitely something to make it so an opponent is definitely, to keep you from getting that advantage, it hurts them without having to have anything else happen.
And try any deck that wants you to draw more cards. Like we already discussed the Locust God, and there's so many other ones I can't even name. But Yeah, this is just, it's just
It
great.
works. I agree it works. It's an enchantment. It works for a variety of tutors, which white has access to. Blue can draw into this. Blue typically just doesn't have a problem of drawing cards, though. That's the only thing. And the cumulative upkeep does hurt, because blue doesn't get that surge of mana. That's the only thing that I see as this. And I'm only going into this as deep a discussion because you're dissing Ristic, and you're wrong. That's the only reason. But there's nothing wrong with this card at all. This is a great card. It is a great budget option. I don't hate this card. I just hate the comparison, more or less.
Come on, I think it's a fair comparison. Yeah, we'll see.
All right, this is like the Marsha comparison right there. That's who that sister is. I don't even know her name because her name's not Marsha. This ain't Marsha. This ain't Ristic.
Well, you said it, so I guess we're just gonna end there.
All right, fair enough. So this is going to conclude our hidden gem section of Ice Age. Our next episode, which will be next week, is going to be of the money cards. So if you're interested in what qualified to be the one everyone likes to buy, be sure to tune in for that. And also, if you have any complaints about what we're talking about or anything that you feel like should have been mentioned in this set, if this is one of your favorite sets, be sure to reach out and let us know where.
Definitely. You can find us on social media at our Reddit page, Twitter and Facebook. We're on there. We're also at Tapped Out with all of our deck lists. And you could just email us if you want at mtgthecardpool@gmail.com. So, for this episode of The Card Pool, I'm Kyle.
And for the next episode, I'm Stu. And we'll see you next time at The Card Pool.